Fractions, Part 2. In today's lesson, students will learn how to subtract fractions with a common denominator. Fractions with a what? Very good. So now that you know how to add fractions with a common denominator, today we're going to learn about how to subtract fractions with a common denominator. Okay? So, to subtract fractions with a common denominator. Okay, let's review what a denominator is, okay? I want you to go ahead and repeat after me. Are you ready? Say, fraction, numerator, denominator. Okay, so the numerator is at the top. Where is it? It's at the top. The denominator is going to be the number at the bottom. That's the number you're dividing by, okay? Say, and this is what? This is a fraction bar, right? It's a fraction bar. It's like here. It's a fraction. Okay, repeat after me. Say, and if you don't say this, I'm going to make you stand up, so you better say it. You ready? Say, fraction, numerator, denominator. Okay, does that make sense? So if you are subtracting fractions with a common denominator, what does it mean when you have something in common with your friend? Does it mean that you are alike? That you like things that are the same? Yes. So common denominator is also known as like fractions. Okay. That basically means that the number at the bottom is the same. Repeat, the number at the bottom is the same. Or in other words, your fractions are cut, or your pieces of pizza are cut into the same amount of slices. So these have common denominators because you're both dealing with what? You're dealing with eighths. For example, when you have 5/8, say that again, 5/8, and you're subtracting 1/8 from that. Well, that is possible to do because of the fact that they are the same, they have the same denominator at the bottom. Now let's go ahead and show what this looks like, 5/8 minus 1/8, so you have a visual. Okay, so when you're talking about 5/8, well, this is a whole. If you're talking about 5/8, we're going to cut this pizza into how many pieces? How many slices are we going to cut it into? We're going to cut it into 8. So it's cut into 8. 1. Okay, so I cut it in half. I cut it in half again. Now we're in 4 slices. So if you're slicing a pizza, you're going to go ahead and cut it on the diagonal line here. And then you're going to do the diagonal here. Now you have 8. But you're only talking about 5/8, okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to shade in the numerator. The numerator is, what's the numerator? The numerator is 5. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now from this pizza, from the 5/8, we're going to take one of these away. So then you would subtract 1/8 from that. Let's go ahead and draw that fraction, okay? You're going to subtract 1/8. So you're going to cut it in half. Cut it in half again. Now it's in fourths. When you cut fourths in half, you actually get eighths. So I'm going to cut this fourth in half here, and I'm going to cut it in half here. Now what we're doing is we're subtracting 1/8. Only 1. So it means we're going to take this one and cross it out. So you can see if you take 1 away from the 5 pieces, okay, how many pieces would you be left with? Okay, if I subtract 1, well, then, see that? Well, let me move it over. Then you're still going to be in eighths. But if I take 1 from 5, what am I left with? I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in then half of the pizza. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yesterday we talked about how 4/8 is actually the same as 1/2. Do you see it? That this is half of the pizza. If I had 5 slices, I took away 1, now I'm left with 4. Okay? So the answer here would be 4/8. Okay, because we did 5 minus 1, and we kept the denominator the same. So what you have to do then, what did we do? What did we subtract? Did we subtract the bottom numbers or the top numbers here? We subtract the top. The top is called the numerator. It's called the what? The numerator. So you subtract the numerators, which are the top numbers, but you're going to keep the denominator. Keep it. Okay? Because you can't say that 8 take away 8 is 0. You can't divide by 0. So remember, you're still in eighths. You still have your fraction that's cut in eighths. Now, the last step is to simplify when possible. So say this word for me, simplify. Simplify is another word for divide. It's another word for what? Divide. Very good. Go ahead and get that down. So what does simplify mean? Simplify means to divide. It means what? Divide. When you're trying to figure out if you can simplify, you're going to ask yourself, is there a number I could divide the numerator and the denominator by to make this fraction look smaller? Okay, so 4/8, I want you to think about it. Is there a number that you could divide both 4 and 8 by? Think about the biggest number you could divide by. You know that they're even numbers, right? So that's the first thing. If they're even numbers, you could divide by 2. You could divide by what? Divide by 2. But I'll ask you, could you also divide by 4? Could you divide 4 by 4? Could you divide 8 by 4? Okay, watch. So what I do is I'm dividing the numerator and the denominator by 4, but not really by 4. I'm dividing by 4 over 4. Anybody remember what happens when you have the same number at the top and the bottom and you're dividing? 4 divided by 4 is 1. So really you're dividing by 1. Okay, you're not dividing by 4. But this is going to give you a new fraction. So 4 divided by 4, we've said, is now 1. And 8 divided by 4, how many times do you skip count by 4 to get to 8? It is 4/8. So it's 2. Now, 1/2, this means that 1/2 is equal to 4/8. And that 1/2 is another way to write 4/8. Let me show you why. Okay? This is 4/8. Let's do, cut that pizza in eighths. Remember, 4/8 mean we're going to shade in 4 of the slices. Well, is that equal to half of the pizza? I'm going to shade in, this is 1, I cut it in 2. Now I'm going to shade in 1 piece. Are those equal? Think about it. Is 4/8 equal to 1/2? Are they the same? Did I eat half the pizza here? Yes. Did I eat half the pizza here? Yes. And that is what you do when you simplify. You are showing that these are equal fractions, but this is the smallest way to write the fraction. Okay, so read the first example with me. It says 7/10 minus 1/10. Okay, so we're subtracting fractions. Do they have a common denominator? Look at the bottom number. Are they both 10? Yes. So if they have a common denominator, then subtracting fractions is very simple. Remember, all you have to do, first I actually want you to look at the bottom, and I want you to say, same, same, same. Say it. Same, same, same. So if we're working with tenths, our answer should also be in tenths. And all we have to do is subtract the numerators. Do what? Subtract the numerators. So our new fraction then is 6/10. Now instead of drawing tenths, I want you to take your answer and I want you to simplify the answer. Okay? Simplify the answer. So if you have 6/10, this will be really easy. Is there a number that I could divide both 6 and 10 by to get a smaller number or a smaller looking fraction? Okay. Are they both even numbers? They are both even. So when they're even numbers, you can divide by 2. Divide by what? Divide by 2. Very simple. So if I divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, I'm really dividing by 1. So I'm not changing the fraction at all. Okay, it's just going to look smaller. So 6 divided by 2 is, what's 6 divided by 2? 6 divided by 2, 2, 4, 6, it's 3. And 10 divided by 2 is, what? It's 5. So the simplified fraction is 3/5. Okay, go ahead and get that down. Read example 2 with me. It says 5/9 minus 2/9. Go ahead and write that down. 5/9 minus 2/9. Okay, so do they have a common denominator? Are the bottom numbers the same? Yes. So if they have a common denominator, you can go ahead and say same, same, same. Say it, same, same, same. It means if this is 9 and this is 9, we're working in ninths. Our answer should be in ninths. And now we can just subtract the numerators. 5 take away 2. What's 5 take away 2? 5 take away 2 is 3. Okay. Now, let's write this fraction right here. Talk about 3/9, okay? 3/9. I want to ask you, could you simplify 3/9? In other words, could you divide both 3 and 9 by the same number? Could you divide by 2? No, you can't divide by 2. Could you divide by 3? Is 3 divisible by 3? Yes. Is 9 divisible by 3? Of course. So you could say divide the top and the bottom number not just by 3, but by 3/3, which is 1. Okay? 3 divided by 3 is 1. But that new fraction, that simplified fraction, remember 3 divided by 3 is, what's 3 divided by 3? It's 1, right? And then 9 divided by 3, how many times do you skip count by 3 to get to 9? You say 3, 6, 9. So now this is, the new fraction is rewritten as 1/3. Because 1/3 is equal to 3/9, but this is a smaller way to write it. This is simplified. Okay, read the last example with me. It says 8/9 minus 6/9. Okay, so we're dealing with ninths again. Write that down. Okay. So you ask yourself, do they have a common denominator? What's the common denominator? What is it? What's the number at the bottom? It is 9. Say same, same, same. So your answer will be in ninths. So what do you do now? Do you do 8 minus 6, or you subtract the numerators? Yes. 8 take away 6. Remember what that is? It's 2. Okay. I want you to look at this fraction now. The fraction is 2/9. And I want to ask you, can this fraction be simplified? Who thinks yes? Who thinks no? Okay, why can this fraction not be simplified? Can anybody explain it? Oh, I can. Okay, it's because there is no number that you could divide both 2 and 9 by. Okay, are these both even numbers? Is 2 even? Yes. Is 9 even? No. So then, can you divide 9 divided by 2? No. So the reason why this is already in simplest terms is because the numerator is even, but the denominator is what? It's odd. So it is already simplified because you cannot divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number.